Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. Coming up, we learn about the dangers of driving while under the influence. We find out what's being done in Hull to protect the city from floods. And we go to Brigg, which now has a tree of light. And we visit the Grimsby Rucksack Depot, which helps those sleeping on the streets. And we'll head to Hull and a school looking to make a #1 hit. Welcome to Estuary News. I'm Hugh Riches. It's the time of year when many of us might enjoy going out for a night with family, friends or colleagues, and then we're tempted to drive home. Humberside Police launched its annual campaign to raise awareness of the potential dangers caused by driving under the influence, while Humberside Fire and Rescue, the fire brigade, hosted a practical demonstration at a local college to show younger people what may happen if they drive while under the influence of drink or drugs. Dave Nunn reports.
It's a cold Thursday afternoon and the emergency services rush to the scene of the two-car crash in Grimsby. Paramedics are ready to treat the casualties, and Humberside Fire and Rescue have come armed with bolt cutters to cut potential victims out of their cars. Luckily, this scenario was just a mock-up by Humberside Fire and Rescue alongside other emergency services at Franklin College in Grimsby to highlight the dangers of being under the influence while driving.
Today it's an exercise just to show the dangers of driving while under the influence of drink and drugs. So unfortunately, Christmas is turning up fairly soon and people have a lot more drink than normal, and quite often they feel that it's okay to drive while under the influence, and what we're trying to show this morning is it's not.
The choice of venue isn't a coincidence. Many students at the college are starting driving lessons and are old enough to drink, which is why the demonstration took place at the college.
While it's aimed at younger people today, obviously it's a message that we would hope that the younger people take home with them and tell their brothers, sisters, parents and try and get the message passed on.
The display from the fire service was calm, collected and impressive. Within 20 minutes they had all but one of the casualties removed from the wreckage left by the crash. Unfortunately, the service say monetary and time constraints mean they can't do this kind of event more often, but think it's important to show the public what they can do.
It is, yeah, it's something we'd like to do more, but obviously there's various problems that we encounter because these are operational crews and it does actually cost quite a lot of money. So if we could, we'd like to do it a lot more, but unfortunately because of constraints we can't.
Christmas is less than a month away, and on the cold, icy nights many people may be staying late for an office Christmas party or drinks at a friend's. The message from this very realistic and hard-hitting display is to think before you drive.
I think it's very important because even though we've been blitzed on the TV, etc., people still insist on drinking and driving and also taking the drugs, which is a new problem. So we need to make people aware of the dangers, but also the consequences as well. And I think one of the things it showed this afternoon was the consequences of the accident. The fact that there was people injured and unfortunately somebody died in the accident.
It's the most wonderful time of the year for many, but it's also a time to reflect and remember for those who've lost loved ones around Christmas. The North Lincolnshire town of Brigg now has a tree of light to give people a new way of honouring their departed loved ones, and it's all for a good cause, as Dan Kemp found out.
It's the brainchild of the Brigg Town Business Partnership and is in situ in Chapel Court in the town until 12th night. That's Wednesday the 6th of January 2016.
The Tree of Light is to remember our loved ones that have died in the past umpteen years. All proceeds are going to Carers Support Centre, which is a charity based in North Lincolnshire, also North East Lincolnshire. We've been for the last 25 years in North Lincolnshire, supporting carers, people that are unpaid and looking after loved ones, hoping to get to carers before they reach crisis point.
Owen Mitchell is a local vicar and spoke to the congregation at the launch of Brigg's first Remembrance Tree.
Well, we're hoping to help people remember their loved ones at this time, which is a joyful and peaceful time, but can also be a time of suffering and pain for people, remembering those who they've lost, or fears about jobs in the future and things. So it's just a focus point for that kind of thing. And the lights remind us that there is hope of a better life.
It's been very well received. At Design Orchard, people were queuing up on Thursday morning to buy the cards. Rosa obviously are selling the cards, tourist information, carer support. And then St John's Church and Brig Methodist Church are always selling the memory cards.
It's a privilege and a joy. It's a great community brig, and there's lots going on, and it's great that they want the church involved.
You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, we find out if the people of North East Lincolnshire are ready for Christmas, and we find out what's being done in Hull to protect the city from floods. We visit the Grimsby Rucksack Depot, which helps those sleeping on the streets, and we'll have all the sports news. The Christmas #1 spot may be synonymous with some of the biggest names in the music industry, but can a group of school pupils from Hull top the charts? Erica caught up with some of them to find out how they created a record in record time.
3. Houston, 4. 20 seconds to LOS T-Dress. 4.
You got speed.
Roger, go for deploy. 4.
Could a group of youngsters from Hull take the music industry by storm? That's the hope of Archbishop Centimore Academy. They've teamed up with the non-profit record label New School Music to create a song with a big vision to raise money for charity while soaring to the Christmas #1 spot. The youngsters aged from 13 to 16 teamed together, from laying down the vocals and instruments to choreographing their very own music video, all of which they did in just 8 days.
I will make it better, I will lift you up, I'll hold it all together, 'cause through it all, we move as one.
Part of it was kind of showing what talents we had within the school and what we do have within Hull. The whole thing's just been amazing.
I think it's just been life-changing. It's definitely a kickstart to both of our careers. We've experienced things that not all kids in Hull get to experience, or in England really.
And their efforts didn't go unnoticed. They were even invited, along with producer Chris Cooper, to Abbey Road Studios in London for the final mastering of the track.
And it was completely different. Instead of having music in front of me, I was just doing it off. Was just improvising, doing what we thought would be good, and we just sort of laid up lots of different tracks. So yeah, it was a very different experience to what I'm used to. I expressed what I wanted to in the track. Instead of having to say, right, you have to play this bit, I could just do whatever I wanted.
It was a struggle at first, but it felt like she can trust in me. She's got faith that I can do this and I'll be able to produce a good piece. And it felt a good opportunity to be asked to do this. I am just delighted of the outcome, what I've done.
And film and media teacher Callie Ager says it's about giving youngsters the chance to apply skills outside of a classroom setting.
A lot of what we do in school is emulating real life, and that's what it is. It's just an emulation. We wanted to give these kids an experience which was real world relatable. Yeah. Incredibly proud, beyond proud. They work so hard and they deserve some success with this. They really, really do.
While New School Music is hoping to roll this model out across other schools, it seems these kids are simply over the moon that they get to be part of something special. Erica Barker, Estuary TV.
And joining me to discuss this week's news, Erica's here in the studio. Erica.
Hello, Hugh. So 20-year-old Jason Norfolk from Hull, who has gone missing. His shoes have been found close to the Arctic Corsair trawler in the River Hull. Well, CCTV shows him walking along Liberty Lane towards High Street in Hull's Old Town. This was at around 1:16 a.m. on Sunday, but there has been no positive sightings of him since. In the Hull Daily Mail, his girlfriend, Faye Longley, has said it leaves her in no doubt that now that her boyfriend of 2.5 years has fallen into the river, and she is now steeling herself for bad news.
Very grim story. Frightening, cold, wet night.
So the next one then, primary school, this is good news for Hull. Primary school league tables, Hull jumps above national average for the first time. So it's the first of Hull, great news for Hull primary schools. This was performance tables published by the Department of Education yesterday. Great news for Hull, good for East Riding also. It says they're top of the table in Yorkshire and the Humber region, and that's for a second year in a row, and they are now 44th in the national rankings. I have the figures for North East Lincolnshire. It says 77% of pupils reached level 4 or above, and that's up from 75% last year. So it seems to be quite good news all round for primary schools there.
So we're better than most of the rest.
Yeah,
excellent. Well, we've
that's
got
what
very,
we like.
very clever children.
Oh, that does bring me onto a story there from a comparison website that says that Humber is the worst place to live.
Oh, okay. Well, it won't be in the future because of our clever children.
That's true. It does say this comparison company have done this, saying Humberside's the worst place to live, and they say it's because it's to do with employment opportunities, facilities that are available to people, and people's genuine overall.
It's also a very easy place to live because everything's so cheap, and we have,
It's a wonderful place to live, Hugh, isn't it?
And also extremely beautiful.
Very
Erica,
beautiful.
we'll have to stop there.
Okay.
Back in a minute, though. Welcome back, you're watching Estuary News. Coming up, we find out if the people of North East Lincolnshire are properly prepared for Christmas, and we'll have the sports news from across the region ahead of the coming weekend. As Storm Desmond has shown, floods can destroy livelihoods and devastate communities, something we know all too well in the Humber region after the 2013 tidal surge and the summer floods of 2007. Recently, a new £6.6 million flood defence scheme was opened in Hull and marks the start of a new period in investment in flood defences in our region. Dave Nunn went to find out more.
As recent floods in the north of England have shown, flood defences are vital in protecting lives and public property. After floods devastated Hull a few years ago, the Environment Agency and the government have reaffirmed their commitment to flood defences, starting with a new scheme at Albert Docks.
It's a great scheme back here in 2013. Large areas of the city were affected by tidal flooding, affected businesses quite severely as well as people's homes. And we've been able to come in the meantime in the last 18 months or so and build this scheme here to reduce the risk of tidal flooding.
The £6 million scheme has a 100-year lifespan and aims to combat the threat of a chance flooding event like Storm Desmond or the 2013 tidal surge and protect numerous homes and businesses.
What we have done is essentially plugged a gap in the defences. There's the defences to the west and east of the dock are sufficiently high. In this location, they're lower. What we've done is constructed a 1.6 kilometre length of wall, plugging that gap. We've also infilled an old disused culvert which represented a potential flood risk through coming under the defences, so both of those have been sealed. If we were to have a repeat of the event of the 5th of December 2013, the properties behind now will be protected.
It's the start of a huge period of investment by the Environment Agency, who say they are investing over £200 million alongside other partners in flood defences in the Humber region.
£86 million is due to be spent in the next 6 years around the Humber, reducing flood risk to 50,000 houses. In addition, the Environment Agency, with help from the partners of Hull City Council, East Riding and Yorkshire Council, spending another 200 million in the city of Hull and its surroundings. That will reduce flood risk to a further 100,000 houses.
As for the Albert Dock defences, the agency says that the adjustable defences will bring resident and business confidence back to an area of Hull that was devastated by 2013's tidal surge.
What it means is that the likelihood of seeing tidal flooding repeated in this part of the city of Hull has been reduced significantly, and that gives people confidence that they can continue to live and work and invest in their businesses in and around this part of the city, and give them that confidence to continue that we've got a good plan in place to continue to manage tidal flood risk.
And if there's a story you'd like us to look into, then you can contact the news team either through the Facebook or Twitter pages, or email news@estuary.tv, or call 01472 31 55553. Let us know, please, what's happening in your area. There are only 14 days to go until Christmas. With only 2 more weekends left, the high streets will no doubt be heaving with shoppers. Are you ready for Christmas? We asked the people shopping in North East Lincolnshire if they've got in everything they need.
I haven't even started. No.
I'm getting some each week, so I'm on my way now.
I have, and I'm going to my daughter's for Christmas, so I've got no preparing to do.
Nearly. Just going through the last few bits.
Yeah, all organised.
No, haven't started. That's it.
Still with me, looking at the week's news, Erica, a few more stories.
A few more stories. Well, mobile phone masts should be taller to increase coverage to the more remote areas of the East Riding. This is according to a Tory MP. So this is Graham Stewart, MP for Beverley and Holderness, has said that those living in rural areas of his constituency were being let down and prevented from living their normal life because of patchy phone coverage. This is a story within the Hull Daily Mail. He has argued this in Westminster, that signal masts should be allowed to be 10 metres taller, which he said would lead to fewer needing to be put up.
There's a sort of impact on the look of the landscape there, if you have 10-metre high masts all over the place.
I mean, we're hearing this often, aren't we, that people aren't getting the mobile phone signal that they need. It's paramount in this day and age with people working from home, and it must be difficult. I mean, how is your signal?
Well, I get quite a good signal, but on the whole, but that region in the East Riding is very lumpy, isn't it? There are lots of hollows where the signal can. I'm afraid there are a few places where they can't get Estuary TV for similar reasons.
I know.
I think it's all right. We send them a tape.
You do make me laugh. Well, anyway, this is part of the government. They want to do a provision of 90% coverage by 2017. Hopefully that will go ahead, and hopefully the East Riding will not be left behind. A story we did a few days ago actually. The school, Belfield Primary School in Hull, they was ransacked, Christmas presents robbed, the classroom destroyed. Well, thanks to the community, they've donated cash and gifts. It says they flooded in to replace those smashed by vandals last week. So it's a lovely story about what the community can do.
Well, horrible that the burglars did that in the first place. Not very Christmassy at all, but how wonderful that everybody rallied round.
Yeah, that they've rallied round and done that. That's a lovely story. Petrol, so Morrison's are dropping their petrol prices to below £1 a litre at forecourts across our region, and Asda are going to do that temporarily also.
Good news for drivers coming off the international oil markets. Thank you very much, Erica. Earlier in the week, Mark Elliott and Dave Carlisle came in to tell us about the Rucksack project and how it helps the homeless. As part of the project, hundreds of items have been donated, from warm clothing to toiletries, to help those who are sleeping rough. Erica went to the Waltham British Legion, where volunteers are busy getting the rucksacks ready.
It's a grassroots movement that started back in 2009 in Bristol, and it's a project where we're aiming to get rucksacks out to homeless people to help them over the winter. Rucksacks filled with all kinds of practical things like warm scarves, gloves, a sleeping bag, things that are really going to help them, toothpaste, toothbrushes, hygiene items, anything that's going to make life on the streets over the winter a little bit warmer and a little bit safer, a little bit cleaner. We are helping people in Grimsby, Cleethorpes, across Lincolnshire, other areas, and I think people really like the fact that they know stuff that they're donating is going directly to help people in our local area. There's a great need for all the items. It's been distributed through some of the refuges, through the YMCA, the Salvation Army, Harbour Place, through organisations that already work with these people in our area. They know who are the real needy cases, so we can get that stuff directly to the people that need it. The response we've had from the public has been absolutely amazing. So we've got individuals who are coming in all day today and donating goods. We've had church groups, nurseries, other community groups, donations coming in left, right and centre, and we've been really, really pleased and surprised with the response that we've had. And after today, it's a project that we're hoping to carry on all year round, so they can have a look at our Facebook page, which is Rucksack Project, Grimsby, Cleethorpes and Lincolnshire. get on the Facebook page, have a look what we're doing and see how they can get involved through the winter and beyond into next year.
And now, here's the sport.
Hull City's summer signing Adama Diomande looks finally set to make his debut after taking part in training all week. Manager Steve Bruce says he stands a chance of at least being on the Tigers' bench tomorrow as they play Bolton.
It's a shame for him because he was right in the middle of the season when he arrived here, and he was the top goal scorer in Norway. So it would have been, what we thought was going to be 3-4 weeks has turned into 12 weeks. However, he's something that we've been looking for in the past, as in terms of football-wise, where he wants to run in behind. He's quick, so he'll give us a different option.
Grimsby Town assistant boss Chris Doig says he's under no illusions that Saturday's FA Trophy clash with opponent Solihull Moors will be a tough one, with them riding high in the National League North. He's watched them recently against Boston United.
They were pretty much on top for long periods, but fell to a breakaway goal. But obviously this is their next game, they'll be looking to respond. We know it'll be a difficult game. They've got quite a few players that have played at a higher level, but again, I say it every time, but I'm not really interested in what they do, to be honest. I'm more interested in how our lads perform, and again, if we perform to our maximum, whatever team selected, then we give ourselves a good chance of winning.
So to round up the weekend's football, Hull City host Championship bottom club Bolton Wanderers on Saturday, kicking off at 3. Elsewhere, 14th place Scunthorpe travel to 11th place Port Vale, where a big win could see Iron leapfrog their opponents in the League One table. Grimsby Town versus Solihull Moors kicks off at 3 p.m. at Blundell Park on Saturday in the FA Trophy. Meanwhile, tournament holders North Ferriby United don't have a game after losing their qualifier a fortnight ago. Hull's Olympic boxing champion Luke Campbell takes his next step towards a world title tomorrow as he faces experienced Frenchman Ivan Mendy. The clash is at London's O2 Arena on the undercard of the Anthony Joshua versus Dillian White fight. And New Hull FC signing Scott Taylor says the New Look squad is already blending well after just a month of pre-season training. Taylor was born in Hull, and talking to the club's official website, he also says he's benefiting from the arrival of fellow new signing Frank Pritchard, who came in from the Canterbury Bulldogs. And in Rugby Union, Hull Ionians of National League 1 host Wharfdale at Brantingham Park. Elsewhere, Hull IUFC are away to Lymm, and Scunthorpe are at home to Bromsgrove. And finally, after being part of Britain's Davis Cup winning side, Ticton's Kyle Edmund could gain a place in the first round of the Australian Open, which starts next month. He'll enter the main draw if 3 players pull out.
That's it for tonight. If you have a news story, then please visit our Facebook or Twitter pages, or email news@estuary.tv, or phone Grimsby 01472 31553. Details on the screen. Until next time, good evening.
Estuary TV weather, sponsored by Rix Petroleum, your local family-owned heating oil supplier this winter.
Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Mainly dry to start with, but feeling cold, and there's a very slight chance of rain towards the evening, a maximum temperature of 5 degrees. Sunday, a bright and frosty start, then mainly dry but clouding over later.
Rix, servicing the region's oil boilers this winter from a name you can trust. Get in touch at rix.co.uk or call us on 01482 838383.